And we are live. Wait a little bit for people to join in. There we go. It's funny because when I made the event, it says Tina Rushing is live. I'm thinking
you are live.
But it's her Steam account. They just set it all up through Steam, and it's like, oh, I'm Tina for the day.
Do we have to do the like they do in the theater? The role of Tina Rushing will be played by Dan Falkenthal.
She's gonna
Liner
love
notes.
to see this. She's I haven't watched it.
What? She is?
Oh, knowing her, I bet so. This
Right.
This is an ease of mind and comic relief. You are here, Kramer. It's all good.
Now you're gonna make me panic. I'm very shy.
That's okay. No worries. So as always, welcome. Happy to be doing this. Happy to be here. We are joined by Kramer, who is a firefighter in Ohio.
I am. 17 years of it.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend going into burning rooms. I try to avoid them.
It's
good.
It's the goal until the goal is to go into them, I'd say.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little fun, but usually means somebody's having a bad day, and I don't like people to have bad days. So if I never have to do my job again, if you guys could all make that happen, I'd really appreciate it.
While still making sure you're having a good day on top of it.
Oh yeah, I'll try.
Oh, Heather's here.
Yay!
Hey!
Okay, sorry, I'm late.
You are not.
Okay.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Hey, how are you?
Good. Just made it in the nick of time.
And yeah, awesome to have you here finally.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Happy you could join.
And apparently my annoying cat is joining us too.
Nothing wrong with that. We are also joined by Elisabeth, who is a nurse.
Hi.
I've been a nurse for 6 years, and I tend to work more in the orthopedic spine sort of area. But with everything COVID, I've been shuffled around a bit this past couple months. So
Is that right?
Then there's Heather.
Sorry, what I miss? Are we introducing ourselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
So I have been an ER nurse for 5.5 years. I went straight from nursing school to a level 1 trauma center. It's kind of always been my passion. And I kind of got that way because I was a veterinary technician for 12 years before I switched over to humans. And that was kind of my first taste of emergency medicine. And I had to have more. So I switched over to emergency. And I also do PRN as an inpatient psych nurse. So a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
What?
I applaud you for psych nursing.
What's that?
I applaud you for being a psych nurse.
All ER is a psych added with, cutting a leg off or something else, but it's all psych.
No, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Starting it off, I always like to start it off this way. Tina does too, because it gives a little bit of perspective on managing stress at the best level we can. Because a lot of mental health first revolves around self-care and how you manage for yourself before others. Because as always, we will always be there for others before ourselves. It's natural, it's human. All three of you know more than myself. It's the worst to see someone in pain, but at the same time, the first to help at the same time. The factor being the field you are. And what are some ways that it'll be a whole mix of questions really quick, but answer really. What are ways that you manage your own mental health, whether it be at home versus work, when you have the time, the break moments, like Kramer being at the station, to both Heather and Elisabeth possibly having even 15 minutes at least here and there at scattered moments. What are, whether it's in the workplace or managing at home, with two of you who have kids, what are some ways that you guys manage around that for your daily lives?
You want to go first, or you want me to?
Me? Okay. Well,
that's fair.
Like, it's ridiculous, but it really does help. And that's more of a being at home type thing, obviously. I've got 4 dogs. I've got 2 cats. I've got 2 horses and 4 goats. And it's just something that I get so much joy, like just being around animals. And like this dummy, for instance, I bottle fed her and 4 kittens 14 years ago. 14 freaking years ago. She was like this big. So that obviously, animal and veterinary medicine was my first love. So I still have the animals just kind of as my own personal therapy. And it is actually really cool because we do get therapy dogs that come into the emergency department, which is super helpful. And
Lucky.
I know. The border collie's my favorite. She was a bumblebee for Halloween. It was pretty awesome. And I know, like on my days off, if I'm in town visiting, my friends, and I have my Saint Bernard puppy with me, I'll bring her to work because I know what it's like to just get shit on and then seeing a puppy.
Yep.
I know that's silly, but it absolutely helps. And then a lot of people ask me, like, oh my gosh, you live an hour away from where you work. How can you do that? And it's actually really beneficial for me because there's an hour before work and after work where I can crank up the radio, I can sing at the top of my lungs, and I can sob crying and just be on my way to work or on my way home. It makes me unwind.
You found the positive in what most find a negative in.
Sure.
She has a habit of that, and it's awesome.
And it's a beautiful commute. I mean, it's an hour-long drive with like elk grazing on the side of the road and aspen trees. So, I mean, I can't help but just appreciate it,
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I agree that an hour-long commute can help you sort of not depress. I can't speak. I've been up since 3 a.m. because I have a 2-month-old at home. So, but decompress, that's the word I was looking for. Just because I also have that hour long, and before I get home and but welcome the 4-year-old that shouldn't be up at 9 o'clock at night when I'm in the door, and then pretty soon the baby once I go back to work. It helps just to have that separation from what might have been a very stressful and hectic day to, okay, let's leave that at work, leave that behind as much as you can, which especially with the type of jobs that we all do is sometimes hard to disconnect from work and home. And just having that amount of time I've found really beneficial as well.
It helps.
That's awesome.
I guess the thing that works for me is the family away from the family when I'm at work. They call it the brotherhood or the sisterhood or whatever. It's a big family, and we cut up. And the thing that helps is we have a really sick sense of humor. Mm-hmm. For anybody that's not in this line of work, I feel like we have to have a disclaimer to tell them, some things that a lot of people might not find funny that we actually cut up about. And I'm lucky enough that I got somebody at home that lets me talk about the bad side too, but in a funny way. And it's a nice way to just get it all out, and that way you don't stay bottled up with it for far too long.
Yeah, I think that sense of humor, or interesting sense of humor, is kind of read with a lot of these jobs where not necessarily dinner time conversation and any other.
It's funny you say that, because when we were allowed to go to restaurants before all this hit, we would actually ask the host, like, hey, can you sit us away from people? Because we're probably going to talk about stuff that most people don't want to hear at dinner. So sorry.
Given respect.
Yeah.
Fair warning, this is going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to go sideways quick.
It's good to have that like closeness at the same time, though, because we all have those people that are hard to deal with, but then we know how to manage to deal with them. And then it's great to have that large amount of people that at the same time you can call on the spot, whether at home or at work, and still have that humor in there too, because humor is clearly one of the greatest medicines.
Yeah.
I know it's how you get through your most stressful days, is whether it's somebody nudging you and saying something, close friend or nurse or firefighter, or just whatever it may be. We all have a little bit of sick sense of humor. And it's sometimes good to have on those moments.
I apologize. Can I blame the cat for that? I don't know what just happened.
You're good.
You're good.
I was like, yeah, I agree. It's black. But yeah, definitely having a work family. I mean, we all have our work wives, and they're so important. Especially in the stuff that we do, you have to have that trust. And a lot of times I end up working night shift, and it seems like there's less staff, so you're even closer to your work family, and that's crucial. And yeah, we do have jacked up sense of humor.
We've also found that for our floor, at least, the bedroom and the med rooms are wonderful places where you just need to, here a sec, I just need to get this out and then go back out.
Yeah, can I borrow your fingerless med also?
Yes.
Grandma in bed too, if she rings that bell one more time.
Yeah. Or one of the other doctors or something like that. It's one of those. Just let it out and then move on with life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to have the people that you can decompress with, and also hang an insulin drip or do chest compressions, or it's very important to have at least one person, like one of your people, on a shift where you can be mad, you can vent, but then also know that they get it and it's not going to escalate from there. It's just like, yep.
And then have those bad shifts where on an ortho floor, we usually don't like when we have to do chest compressions or call codes. But then when that does happen, because it's life, it's one of those, it's nice to be able to know, hey, we can all not make jokes, but we have that humor afterwards of, hey, this happened. The person's now up in ICU and doing great, but
I'm sorry about your ribs.
Ooh, yeah.
Not during this code. Wasn't that fun? So it just helps to have that relationship with your peers that you're going through this.
I'm sure it's kind of universal. Obviously, we probably see it a bit more in the emergency department, but when we do have some type of an event, whether it be a code or just a really bad trauma or something, our communication is closed loop. So there's no, oh my gosh, I thought he was talking to you. I thought you were grabbing those. So the communication that we have to work on there is very direct, very much like, hey, I need you to grab epi. All right, I'm grabbing epi. So there's no possible, oh crap, I thought they meant that person or whatever. And then at the end of it all, which I think is super important, and we don't really do it at the hospital that I work at right now as much as we did when I was back in Georgia, we do summaries at the end. All right, guys, what happened? How are you feeling? What do you think we did good? What do you think we could improve on next time? And everybody just has a chance to talk about it. And especially like if they're younger patients, we definitely do debriefings a lot more just to make sure that everybody's okay, because it's not okay what we see. Like, it's our job, it's what we do, and we're programmed to do our job. And in the moment, you're moving, you're everything is happening all at once. But then when it's over, it's very important, no matter what the situation is, to stop and breathe. Even if you've got another trauma coming in, like, you need to take that time to ask, are you okay?
And you need to focus on yourself in that. You might have another couple patients too, but you need to take that time because otherwise you're doing yourself a disservice, but also you won't be able to provide the best care for what you need to do in the next room.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I gotta say, sorry about that.
No,
I was gonna say, it's funny you say that because I remember reading about when I was going through the fire academy 17 years ago that the post-incident stress debriefing, and I'll be honest, on our side in the pre-hospital care, I can honestly say I don't think we've ever, at least on the dozen departments that I've worked for, like we just don't. That's not a priority, and I wish it were, especially for some of the more traumatizing ones. But it doesn't seem to be a focus. And I can honestly say, like, when you bring that up, it's like, oh yeah, I remember reading about that.
That's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
They actually added a debrief sheet to our crash cart. It has a clipboard on there, which is how we manage code as well, do the recording. But in the back of that, we have a debrief sheet, just as a reminder of, hey, this is actually part of the code. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, like I said, we don't do it. We don't do it as much as we did. Like I said, I started at a level 1 trauma center, and we were the only level 1 trauma center in all of Southeast Georgia. So we got everything flown to us. So like if it was 2 hours away, they would hop it on a helicopter and they would bring it to us. Like we saw the worst of the worst. Sorry, my goats are yelling. And that was one thing that we were very good about there. And I feel like we probably should do a lot more of that where we are. And I mean, anyone can start it. So.
It's a good idea.
If you're hearing yelling in the background, I don't know if the mic's picking it up. The baby's crying and my husband's crying along with them trying to distract him. So if any weird noises, ignore it.
I feel for him.
A really obnoxious fake crying back.
But it's all clear. I don't hear anything.
I was like, if you hear screaming, it's goats on my end. So it's
my dogs have full bellies and they're being quiet for once. So let's not jinx that.
Okay.
Jillian also has a full belly and is being quiet.
That was going to be my next question. But does Jillian have a full belly?
She's back there reading.
Oh, good. Hi, Jillian. I love you.
She loves you.
I was going to mention the first, most recent comment from Jenny, and then I'll bring up the other going back a bit. It's also important to advocate for the companies to provide adequate mental health services for their staff and support everyone needs for self-care within and outside the workplace, especially in healthcare. Can't imagine with a stressful work and long hours.
Yes.
Very true.
It's actually something that's a bit of a soapbox of mine at my work. I actually helped develop a resiliency program. It's currently geared more towards our new grads because we have an active new graduate program, but we do training for resiliency and care and everything because that first year as a nurse can be very but those skills can actually help them in the future. We have a few units that we're reaching out to try and have that for all of their staff as well, because the reminder is not a bad thing.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I know, like on any of our traumas, our chaplain comes down, and they are the ones that we use to help kind of navigate things with the family. But they do always stick around for us as well. And I know that they do offer counseling and stuff through my work. I've never taken them up on it, which is my own fault. But that is something that is offered, and it is very important. And I think we often forget that is a possibility.
That's what we have the what's it called, the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, and we're allowed, I think, 8 or 9 visits. And again, like you said, that no one ever thinks to do it. And I'll be the first one to say we have a bunch of guys at the firehouse that are just oh, I don't need that. And
No.
we do. We need it. And we've been fortunate. We have one guy that has spoken up, and he told us all the stuff he was going through with depression and whatnot. And it was kind of nice to see somebody take the lead on that, to where like, oh, it's okay.
Wow.
You can say it, and everybody was listening. And what was equally as awesome is seeing 53 guys turn around and be like, we're here for you. What do you need? And
Yeah.
it was none of the typical like, oh, suck it up.
Fine.
Yeah. So everybody, was more than happy to lend an ear or shoulder or whatever was needed. So
That's wonderful.
Awesome.
I mean, deep down, everybody's got that one thing that's always eating at them. Everybody's got it's always worded that we all one in three people have something specific within mental health, whether it's a disorder to trauma to daily stressful lives and not being able to manage it well. And then we also have ourselves, and we can be one of those three in a way. But either way, we all have something, and it's good when one can speak up more often and take that leap. Because deep down, even that day when you had all 50 other people looking at him saying he's there for you, it also gave an open mind to hopefully more than half of them to say, I need this too.
yeah.
Home life not be the greatest, divorce, whatever may be happening, passing of a family member, to know that it is more that we all know it's common, but to hear about it, to not just read a story, but talk with a fellow human, friend, family member, to know it's a solid connection. It's like all of us missing hugging each other. It's a connection that we all need to thrive more often.
And I'm so glad that your friend was able to say, hey, I need help. I mean, we lost one of our own a couple weeks ago, and
I saw that.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was such a good dude, and he was always the first one to help. He was always the first one to give you a giant hug whenever he saw you, even gave the best hugs. And he had been struggling for a while, and it hurts to know that like one of our own, like not that it's any less significant if it wasn't, but like one of ours, felt so just lost.
And that's what I don't know who they is, but they tend to say that some of the ones that seem to have it together the most,
yep,
and are all constantly reaching out to everyone else are the ones that are
sure
tore up.
Laugh, making sure, everyone's smiling and having a good time. And it sucks. He's just a funny little note. He was always the guy that would, oh, come on, when are you going to finally realize that you're in love with me? Let's run away together. And my friend Amber, I was like, I will never be proposed to like that again. And she's like, we should have just done it. But just a lovable guy,
Yeah. Man. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he was a good one. But I think that's the point of having these conversations, and that's the point of just even opening the conversation to let people know that, hey, life is hard in general, and then add healthcare worker, first responder, police officer, it adds a degree of difficulty.
Yeah. That's part of what we drill into the new grads too. If it's okay to need help. You're going to be stressed. You're going to have hard times.
Yeah.
That's what I think a big part of it will be going forward, is teaching people from Jump Street. Because normally, like I said, you have people like me that have been in it for a while, and now it's just becoming the norm. But if you can get people on the front end being like, hey, this is okay.
Yeah.
This is not a taboo subject around here. So
that's wonderful.
Preach it and live it.
I didn't hear. I'm sorry. What?
I said we all preach it and we all live it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is very good to have. Like just day one. Hi, welcome to work. Here's these offers. These services that are offered to you. If you need them, seriously, take them up. We show you where the gym is. We show you where the best coffee is. Like, might as well do the important things.
So I was reading that. So that's my getaway right there is the gym. That's if I didn't have that, I'd definitely need more of these programs.
Yeah, gym definitely helps. And then, I don't know, just getting outside is so therapeutic for me.
Well, with your view, I don't blame you.
It's not too bad. And my hammock just came in today. So, yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah, so I live on 10 acres in the middle of nowhere, Colorado. And it's nice to be able to just literally, I look outside and it's like my horses and trees, and it's perfect for me. And even just being able to walk outside to the mailbox or something, just getting that even small amount of time in the sun, a little vitamin D therapy. Oh, hey, buddy. A little vitamin D therapy goes a long ways. Or just knowing what works for you.
Yeah. Everyone has something different that'll help them decompress.
Yeah.
It is finding it and then actually doing it.
Ah, yes. Follow through.
Yeah.
Follow through.
So
I'm checking some of the comments about
this.
Again.
Where are you guys seeing these comments? I'm still learning how to use all this.
You can or comments.
You found it.
I see.
Oh, wow.
Oh, hi, everybody.
I know. I just clicked it too. Don't worry.
Shelby's here. See if I can find.
Yeah, I was just reading that. This makes me so sad. My husband won't even consider it because he's afraid it will be used against him in his career.
That's a big fear with a lot of the guys I work with. Honestly, they don't trust the program.
Do they think they'll be considered not capable of doing the job, or is that?
Yep, they're just whatever anybody might be going through in their personal life, or if they admit that they have a drinking problem, or if they are turning to pain pills or anything like that, they don't trust the program, so they won't go.
So they just don't say anything.
Yep.
Oof. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That needs to be. I mean, we're the first ones to go up to bat for our patients. We're the first ones to advocate and do everything that we can to make sure that our people get better, but not ourselves.
Yeah. Everyone else first.
Yeah.
Hey, we haven't peed in 6 hours, so we're getting worried about you, but I've been here for 10 hours and I haven't had a chance to go pee yet.
Exactly. Pee, eat. Yeah. Those are foreign concepts sometimes. Oh, I wish that was not a thing.
Yeah.
But I guess starting the conversation and making it okay, and future generations, new hires from here on out, just it's okay.
And I think what you mentioned, Kramer, starting that from the get-go might help. I know it won't necessarily help the guys that have been around and doing it for a while, but
but gotta start somewhere.
Yep, right at the get-go of, hey, if you do need help, this is here. This is an acceptable part of what we do because we're still human. We everyone else and everything, but realize that we're human too, and we're not invincible too.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I mean, we can operate like robots, and not robots, but finely tuned machines in the moment. We're not becoming self-aware or anything, but then after that, when everything stops, you're left with very human emotions and very human thoughts and very human memories and smells. Oh.
Yeah. You can get through the rest of the shift, but then when you're in the car on the way home, it's one of those, oh, yeah, okay.
Exactly. And
she couldn't wait. She wanted to see your face.
Okay, hi. I love your face.
No, I just had to chime in because it's kind of interesting hearing this. I work in the administrative side of healthcare.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, hey, I'm Jillian.
Hey, Jillian.
Hey. So I'm on the administrative side. So I'm normally the one that's going why are you guys all bitching? can't you get back to work? Why are you complaining? It's just dead people. Just move on.
Yesterday.
Yeah, like I don't understand this problem. No, but so it's just kind of funny.
Sarcasm.
Yeah, total sarcasm. I only say that to like every other person. But it's interesting because from the administrative side, unless people come up for air, we don't know that you need help. So it's one of those, people are just, I mean, we're in the industry to serve. So it's hard for us to say, I need to serve myself so I can service other people. That didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Again, I'll be in HR tomorrow after this conversation. I mean, like mental health awareness is only a thing when it's broken, right? Like I don't have a single nurse that I work with that goes, I'm feeling really good and I just want to tell you I'm feeling so good. Like that only, those conversations only come up when it's like, I accidentally killed someone because I just misdosed it, I'm not sleeping and I'm really sorry about this. And I'm totally making this scenario up. This has never happened and, whatnot. Totally but like those like drastic scenarios, those come up when the mental health is already to the point where it needs some help versus being proactive. So I just had to chime in on if there's anybody listening that isn't coming forward and talking to their administrator, or talking to the people that are helping steer the ship, talk to us because we don't know. I mean, unless you say something, I'm going to ask why you can't take on 5 more admits today. That's just how that goes.
Yeah, pull on your big girl panties. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. And you think you need to pee? Think again. Put in a Foley and let's ride, sister.
You'll be fine. But it's like if it's no news is good news, I guess everyone just assumes that if you don't say anything, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then you have the coworkers that unfortunately say, well, even if I say something, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
All those new admits, I'm not going to get support from the higher ups, even if you have those good relationships at your peer level. Unfortunately, there are some that feel that there isn't much support from above. And that every area.
That is awful.
And part of that is you really have to evaluate, are you in the right spot? Not as a nurse or as a caregiver, but are you with the right company? Because if you're constantly reaching out and not getting the support that you need, that's not going to change. No. So something has to change. And it unfortunately would probably have to be on that person's end if you don't have the support there, or being able to have the balls to say, listen, I'm telling you as my manager, shit's real bad. And if you don't fix this, something's going down. And that takes a lot of strength. So it's one of those, it's a tough situation.
All the fields you're in, it's very hard to stand up to anybody on a larger scale because anybody at the high scale is kind of death defying to probably most of you, especially in those little occurrences, which aren't little occurrences. They're kind of buildups in its own way through multiple patients.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That our higher ups tend to be more supportive, but it took people actually breaking that barrier to realize, hey, yes, we do have this support. But at first, it's one of those, no. Jenny just mentioned something of, if you're struggling, there's probably 5 more people struggling too. So the building up that strength to actually step up and say, no, this is a needed thing. A lot of people might be surprised that there actually is support in place. They just don't know that it exists.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like if you are in this sad situation where, your company, your management or whatever is not providing you with those services, I mean, I guess sometimes it can be up to us. Just, hey, I noticed you were a little bit off. You want to go grab breakfast after shift, or
after shift, because you have 6 more admits you have to handle.
It's true. At least 8.5 hours before we can pee, but that first show sounds amazing. Or waffles.
But that's what brings it full circle right back to that work family that we were talking about. That's, if that's your outlet, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Like you said, that Jenny said, if you're dealing with it, there's probably 5 more people dealing with it. Well, if you're that person that comes forward and says, hey, I'm dealing with this. Me too.
What? This job is hard. Yeah.
So,
I think it can be solved over waffles. I don't. It probably can't be solved. So.
That point.
wiser words.
Right. Sorry.
Sounds like a Leslie Nope.
I was channeling my inner Leslie.
So I was looking up like a list of ways one can not just reach out for help, but help in specific occurrences within the medical field and the fire service. Starting off with, above all, take care of your own self first, emotional and mental. Seriously, it's okay to cry. I've actually talked with three friends today who needed to hear that, simply just that small sentence as a reminder, even if they've been for days, because we shun upon it, and it's gotten to the point where we shun upon it without even needing to be said. Like it's unnatural to show emotions when it's the most natural thing out of all of us.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of that too. I mean, I put on my ER, scrub top, and I don't cry. I'm tough. I'm too cool for that. But guess who's like snot running down the nose has cried multiple times at work?
It's for the car ride home.
What's that? It is. I know. It's for the car ride home. Keep it together.
But it's good if you have that support. We've had a few times where it's like something goes wrong and one of our nurses needs to leave the floor, and someone's there to support them, and they have that crying and decompressing at that point if they can't hold it together. But what's good is when we have the team and that person's patients, all the meds are still passed, they're taken care of. Yep. Because we know that it's like that sometimes, and having that good teamwork you go do what you need to do, and we'll be here when we get back.
Yep. Bring it back to the work family, and it's so nice because sometimes you can just look at your pod partner and be like, I'm out. And they're like, gotcha, and that's so important. But it's not running down the nose, bubbles, the whole shebang, ugliest of ugly cries, and I needed it.
Yeah. It's worse if you have to do that in a mask now.
Oh, but no one can tell like how gross you're crying because it's all kept in, all
yeah. Though it does make it a little bit tricky to read emotions, because it's one of those, do you need a good cry or are you going to shit? I just need to make sure we're covering the here. Yeah. But they're both equally important. I just want to be here to support you.
I will watch your page. Also, do you need gum? I don't know.
Because I'll hug you while you're crying. I'm not going to hug you while you're shitting. That's like
what a line there. No.
Maybe this is why I wasn't invited.
Yay! Guest star Jillian. There was an article that I read, kind of when this whole coronavirus was peaking, and it was written by a nurse that was Ebola nurse, and the title of the article was "There is no such thing as a trauma during a pandemic." And I was reading the article, and I was like, well, how the hell do you figure? It's true. If you have a patient that's coming in and their ship is sinking, but you need to take 5 seconds to put on a gown and put on a mask and put on your gloves, you have to. You have to protect yourself before you can go in, because guess what? There could be a patient after that. And what if you carry some type of, viral disease to the next patient because you didn't take 5 seconds to prepare yourself? And she kind of went on to translate that into life. Like, there's no such thing as a trauma in a pandemic. So if you need 5 minutes to take care of yourself before you take care of someone else, you have to. It is literally between life and death.
What's the first thing now? BSI. Scene safe.
Put on your own oxygen mask before you put on someone else's. It's true. And I was like, that makes a lot more sense than I thought it should have.
Yeah.
The very first thing we all encountered with the beginning of this was being in close quarters. It was more being, besides clearly all 5 of us, but for most, above all, it was more being at home, whether it be alone or with others, and dealing with the stress of being too much around a loved one or too much around family, because we all need breaks from one another, even if they are family. And there's a lot of people that experience whatever they may have experienced has never happened before, especially to them, till being locked up in your home for X amount of weeks or months with nothing to do and nowhere to go. Even if you went to the store once for groceries for a month's supply, or did online pickup, or brought to your home, you still can't go anywhere. And even at the start, even to the level of your backyard isn't even your best friend yet.
Yeah.
And even that freedom is just a little bit, and it's just enough. And we couldn't even have that at the start.
I think it's super interesting that you bring that up, because so from the healthcare world, the firefighters, the nurses, the police, I mean, anybody that was out, when you would see everybody, oh, I'm doing this home improvement project, or oh, I'm spending extra time with my kids. From a mental health perspective, from a healthcare provider, I hope swearing's okay, but I'm going to say, like, eat shit, man. Yeah, like I want to be home. I want to be able to do these same things too. And I'm out knee deep in whatever it is. And that's a challenging mindset to be, because you feel like you lose your connectivity with the people you normally connect with, because you're kind of like, well, what about what I've got going on, guys?
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
One of my coworkers had a lot of issues at the beginning because her kids were doing the remote schooling, and she kept on getting messages from the teachers saying, well, make sure they're on at this time, make sure this, make sure that, because most parents were home. And she's like, I still work full time. I can text him, but I can't guarantee that my 13-year-old is actually going to be signed in when he's supposed to be. And it was just adding to the stress of that, because she was supposed to still be working full time, but at the same time be homeschooling almost, and managing that at home, because, well, people weren't working and they weren't really considering the difference there.
Yeah.
Serious shout out to anyone that has had to take on this distant learning thing while still that alone. Kramer, see you, I hear you, love you. But taking
that was her.
Yeah,
taking that on in general sounds like so stressful. But then adding, well, yeah, I still work full time. Like, hat goes off. I don't know how you do it. Holy shit, where's a cape and a trophy? Like,
keeping the mindset of what I had to keep telling myself, and if you repeat a lie enough, it becomes the truth. And but I did. I like, honestly, I told myself, I was like, this is an awesome opportunity. I have the opportunity to teach my kid 2 out of every 3 days when I'm away from the firehouse, and I get to inundate him with all kinds of my crazy ideas, which she does not like. But
totally worth it.
No, we do a lot of remote learning in the woods and at the top of trees, but
counts.
But it is. It's honestly your mindset when you're sitting there. You could either be I just got off a 24-hour shift and I have to teach my kid, or I just got off a 24-hour shift, but I get to teach my kid. So, and it's just changing one word.
Kramer.
So and like I said, it's not the easiest thing to convince yourself of that, but like I said, if you repeat it enough, so you start to believe it, and then all of a sudden it becomes the norm. And it really was. I'm genuinely looking forward to a couple weeks from now when school starts back up, and we have to continue to do the remote learning. So and kudos. I can't say that I've done this alone, because her mom has been a saint and taking care of all the schooling and whatnot on the days that I'm at the firehouse, and she's working doing
whatever she does.
So I know she's got way too many adjectives in her title.
Well, that's a struggle like from the mom perspective, right? So like traditionally moms are the caregivers at home and the meals on the table. And so then I don't cook because I almost food poisoning and ended his life, but that's a hard struggle too, because all these society norms are like, hey, why aren't you at home barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen? And you're kind of like, I'm not. So you feel like you're just missing it all the way around. And it's good you have to talk to your partner. I feel bad for Kramer because we were talking about like, it's good to have a good cry. And Kramer's like, maybe not every day, someone come get her. But it's just so important to be like, hey, listen, as a mom, I feel like I'm struggling because I'm not connecting with my kid because it's 100% the dad show. I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean it as a compliment. And that's a struggle because moms are number one all the time. And now they're not. So that like flip and role reversal is an area to be like, oh yeah, maybe I should talk to someone about, I don't feel like I'm connecting with my kid, or all I do is I work and then I come home and need time for myself. So then I'm not hanging out with my family, and it's a struggle.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Okay.
I think another challenging thing for some of us during COVID was when I was still working, I was also pregnant, and to the point of I had the baby end of June. So 3 months of COVID that I was pregnant. I don't know, math.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So many comments of people going, well, why are you still working? It's like, well, I'm still 6 months pregnant. I'm able to still work.
Yeah.
I worked until 2 weeks before I had him, and then it was more just I can't stay on my feet for 12 hours at this point, not so much anything else. But I had so much pushback of, well, don't you know there's a pandemic? I'm like, yeah, I know there's a pandemic. Going, why are you so much judgment? And that was very challenging at times too, because then some of them were very well-meaning and would keep sending me news articles saying, oh, well, didn't you know that 6-week-old passed or died of COVID? And then like, please stop trying to help.
Yeah, you're not really helping.
Yeah.
But that's what's so hard for people to understand that aren't in this line of work, that you got into this line of work for a reason, because you wanted to help people.
And we're still taking all the usually reasonable precautions and everything, and we're making sure as protected as we can be in this situation. But you can't just walk away either. I'm saying that in that way, but also you want me to just quit completely? Because if I walk away at 5-6 months pregnant, I don't have a job to go back to, because at that point I have to quit. I can't just go on leave, because just being pregnant isn't a reason to go on leave. Which is dumb.
Topic for another day.
Right.
So mentally and emotionally, the back and forth between different people's viewpoints of that even was a challenge with everything else going on as well.
Man, that must have been so hard.
I was very lucky in the fact that because they weren't doing orthopedic surgeries for a while, everything got put on hold because everything was converted to COVID floors for a while. I was lucky in the fact that they were keeping me off from working COVID floors, but all my coworkers, which I would cycle through working shifts with, they would float down to the mock ortho floor where people still fell and broke their hips, sort of thing.
Yep.
That didn't stop. But I was lucky that they weren't having me take care of direct COVID patients. But everyone I was working with and my floor, so my locker and everything, that was still on a COVID floor. So, but it's still one of those, I'm taking as much precautions as I can. So trust me to do what I need to do, sort of thing.
You're educated. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been really hard. I had a couple of friends that were pregnant right in the peak of it, and went on maternity leave right when everything was like super on fire. So I can't imagine. And I mean, even just going to like ultrasounds and stuff where you couldn't bring your partner because
Yep. Another thing that's been weird is with my daughter, I have a 4-year-old. I had a bit of issues with postpartum blues with her, and I'm having the same issues now, but with her, I could get out. Let's just walk through Target. with the baby.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing my kids into a Target. The 4-year-old wants to touch everything. And
So do I at Target.
young
Just
enough.
Target.
So I'm finding that to be more of a challenge too, because what worked before I can't do right now, sort of thing. But you find other things that work, and you are adaptable, which helps, and be flexible. But everyone needs to find that something that helps them decompress and helps with their mental health and self-care.
I think that adaptability and flexibility is so important, especially right now, because our normal coping mechanisms aren't there. Hi, concerts, #1 decompression, and like shaking like I need a fix, no concerts. So you have to, I don't know, be that girl in the car that just sings so loud that people at the stoplight are concerned about her. And I will be that girl.
The few live streams that some of the bands have done, they've been a godsend.
Yes. Thank you, artists.
Right.
It's weird. I just bought a tour poster yesterday of a band's tour that was supposed to happen this year.
Oh. Ouch.
But it was fully designed for under Corona, so it was actually the image of what we can think is Corona, and then is Every Time I Die, and then typed up all of the dates, had the London dates that weren't crossed out, but then slowly the Chicago date that I went to was their last, and then he kind of swiped all the other dates and further down it went, the further they disappeared.
Wow.
Including like the album release date for the year and everything. Like the creativity behind it, I followed him doing that, and that was like a ease of tension. Just watching him draw because he'd live stream, and I'm like, this is so calming and so cool.
Very cool. Also, Bob Ross paintings, very calming.
Forever will be.
Also.
Chocolate is fantastic too.
Chocolate. Okay, we have that one doctor that totally goes to the break room because doctors get free food because doctors can't afford cafeteria. Anyways, he will come back with a tray of like cookies and espresso beans and all this stuff because he loves us, and chocolate is life.
Yeah, our little EMS rooms have they're not stocked right now because of no community grab bag. Yeah, they basically canceled trick or treat on us.
That's the whole reason we get you to come to our hospitals. We have the
whole reason we bring them to you. Ice cream sandwiches.
Smart attack. They've got espresso beans. No.
Bingo.
Speaking of food and everything, it was awesome how the community at the beginning of all this came together and like fed the hospital workers. It's also interesting how all of that has disappeared.
Yeah. Oh, the taco truck. No.
But it was one of my coworkers, because I'm out of work right now just because of the baby. But something that came up from one of my coworkers is we used to have these things delivered from the community a lot, and now we're at the point of we're still going through the same things and having all this issues with the pandemic, but we aren't seeing that support as much. And we don't need like free food and everything, but even just
the good job
that you're going through this.
Yeah, that definitely, I do feel like that shifted from when we were still thought of as like, hey, you guys have an admirable profession, to unfortunately now it's like, well, what the hell do you know? Do masks really work? And it's just like, where were we 5 weeks ago where we were smart and educated and advised you on health things?
And I feel bad because I used to want to scream from the mountaintops, you're wrong, you're being dumb, and now like I'm so inundated with it that there's just an air of indifference. I'm just like,
because
it's exhausting.
Yeah,
I think in our line of work it's just called job security. Like,
it is.
Yeah. Remember what I was talking about? It's an opportunity. We don't have to treat them. We get to treat them.
We're going to treat you either way, whether it's because you broke your hip or because you were coughing so hard because you had coronavirus because you weren't wearing a mask that you slipped and broke your hip.
Yeah. You'll get treated either way.
We'll get you. But yeah, that mentality, I don't know. Mentality that did change very quickly from, oh, what a nurse, that's such a good job, to, well, I read. I don't know how this thing works. Oh.
I'm amused by the people that are saying this, and then for a while I was just showing, no, look at these stats and everything. Yeah. And now it's one of those, okay, you choose not to take those precautions, but then realize that you're also one of the only people that haven't met my kids recently, haven't come over, or just even for a separated thing in the front yard with our own tires and everything.
Yeah.
It's fine. If you want to choose to do that, just realize that I'm not going to expose my kids to you anytime.
So that should be your right and your choice. Like, hey, we're going to be smart and trust science.
Yeah.
Wear your mask.
Have you guys felt any of the opposite of that, to where some of your friends that are not in the medical field, they kind of keep you at arm's length? Like, how exposed are you?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Like, I haven't had anybody come right out and say it, but
burn her at the stake because she's got cootie bugs.
It's like, man, we really support what you're doing. That's awesome from over there.
One of my coworkers has twins in high school, and the twins could not go over to any other friend's house because all the other parents were like, no, their mom's a nurse. You can't. Oh. You can't even go to the park and have a bike ride socially distanced. So I know that was a big issue with some of the people that had older kids.
I did that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Really, yeah. I did it to myself at the beginning, where I was like, I love you, my friends, and if I get you sick, I would never forgive myself. So I kind of did that on my own, even though, we're the ones wearing the PPE, we're the ones, properly wearing masks and taking them off. But I've been out of work since June 19th. That's when I had surgery and stuff, and I'm going through chemo and stuff now, so I'm not actually in the hospital right now. So I'm not in the same position that I was. So what I'm saying, I allow my best friend to hang out with me now. Is what I'm saying.
Like, we're still doing the social distancing, but it's not so much because I'm working, but more because I'm not working for the 2-month-old. Just because they don't have much of an immune system going for them.
Yeah.
I know it usually
has immunity, but
still. So it works.
That is interesting, the different perspectives on it, though. Like, oh, you're fine, you're a nurse. Or, oh my God, you're a nurse, go away. Like, I see you wearing scrubs in the grocery store. Yeah. Burn them with hand sanitizer. Ooh, we could get a people of hand sanitizer. That would work.
I did the same thing when it all got started, and work was like 17 hours a day, and then you're just around everybody, and you weren't like, I just didn't talk to my friends, and then I got into like this weird headspace, and it was actually like this conversation just occurred over the weekend where I went up to a friend and I was like, hey, listen, I was in a strange headspace. This is where I was. This is where I am. This is how I need help going forward. And it was such a awesome conversation because that friend knew that there was something that was up, but didn't know there was something up. So it was that she was in limbo because I wasn't communicating to her what I needed out of the friendship. So if anybody is in that headspace, I had a great experience with that. And I could see the flip side of a friend being like, that's your deal. You need to, I can't get caught up in this. I'm trying to keep my shit together too. So there's both sides that it can happen. But if you're in that situation, I mean, it never hurts to say, hey, this is what I need from you. And if that other person can't give that to you, then you say, okay, cool. Now I know that. And you guys are on the same level playing field to be able to go, okay, this is where we are and this is how we'll navigate going forward. So I was in the same boat.
Understanding.
Huh?
At least there's an understanding, like, of what's going on situationally.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that conversation, there's no understanding there. So it's good to have that.
Cat, sorry.
That was one of our first chats. I think we were just talking about when reaching out to one another, give warning on kind of like what level you may be at, or what you kind of, not even what you want to talk about, but do you have the headspace to talk some time, whether it's right away or within a day. It's no big deal to respond with, no, I don't, but I don't mind helping you or being there for you. Because the first thing that comes into my mind is that person's reaching out to you specifically for a reason. Even if you aren't that close to a certain, to compared to like, you know, Heather and Jillian, Kramer and Heather, whatever it may be, if it's like a little bit distant of a person, you're like, yeah, we've talked, but like this and that. Certain people look up to us for certain reasons that we can kind of see why, whether it's being more social, more accessible to many, that it kind of catches us off guard, and it can be harder to prepare ourselves with someone we're not as close to. But in the process, they're reaching out to us for I wouldn't say a cry for help, but can be, but for their own reasons of why they never go to anybody else but you. And it's always nice to give like that pre-warning of, hey, I've had a long day. Do you mind if we wait till tomorrow? And the rareness of getting a response of no, unless it's a panic attack or an actual cry for help, will be, yeah, that's no problem. Because it's good for both of you to be in the same mindset.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm gonna tattle on myself for a second. So being in the fire service for years, I'd never had a panic attack, and I always thought these are bullshit. And it was like I talked about earlier, get your shit together. And I'll be the first one to say that until I had one, I couldn't sympathize or empathize. And once I did, it was, I wanted to go up to every person that I even thought, I never said that to anybody, like suck it up, brush it off, yeah. Uttered it, but I promise you it was going through my brain. And it was when we had our little one, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and between my fingers tingling and cramping up and sitting there just trying to catch my breath, I didn't know what the hell was going on. And this one was like, hey, you had a fucking panic attack. And I'm like, oh, those suck.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you're going to die. Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah.
So just being able to admit that I was wrong for the better part of 2 decades, that shit's real. So sorry if anybody has ever had one and it crossed my mind that you're full of shit.
Dude, I get it. Like, when people come in, they're like, I'm having a heart attack. I can't breathe. I can't. And they're talking to you. You're like, well, you're breathing, you're talking. But
yeah,
coming from someone who has had a couple anxiety attacks, yeah, you feel like you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I don't recommend them.
No. Return to sender, get your refund back.
But I will say that having gone through that now, and I've been fortunate that it hasn't happened since, but my patient care, my empathy is through the roof now. For it's like, God, this sucks. I'm so sorry. I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
Not have a heart attack, so your empathy can get better on that one. Okay?
Word for it. Yeah. Let's keep it at an anxiety attack.
There's like the 2 levels of it, which is the understanding, where even if you haven't gone through it, you get it. It's a scary thing. And then there's the level of, you have, holy shit, I'm there for you. Whatever you need, let me, whatever it is, back rub, a pillow to rest on. Like I get it. And those are like the 2 different understandings of it.
Yeah,
that's just like the definition of sympathy and empathy. And sympathy is like, yeah, I feel bad for you, but empathy is you're feeling bad, which makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That literally like covered the entire list I had without even trying. Because I'm seriously going through, because I started off with take care of yourself, and then it's understanding and learning, showing empathy to one another.
That's fucking teamwork.
Avoid unhelpful comparisons. The only other thing that I'll throw in is explore peer support. There's many forums online, there's many groups on Facebook. During this time for AA meetings, clearly that has to be online. There's many live chats like this, but private, and then there are many messaging forums. Because some feel more comfortable, no different than a therapist, with someone that they don't know their life story than someone who does, like us. There's always a way for reaching out for help. I'll be posting them after, but I have a list of specifically mental health resources for firefighters, from Behavioral Health Alliance to the National Volunteer Fire Council, to apps specifically for, some are to the level of even panic attacks on not knowing what to do, and simply not knowing what to do between, as you all know, a life and death situation, to kind of bring yourself back. I've got numbers for hotlines for support, for just peer support for someone to listen who is an ex-firefighter or EMT, to specifically walk you through steps, because they're either currently going through trauma or have had the PTSD. I also have a handful of medical worker resources. I think it was like the first thing I copied and pasted at the start of COVID. A lot of them are apps, and it's so great to see with the convenience to live chat with someone, maybe on like a break or a lunch at work, then a phone call a day or two later when you finally call. Even the crisis text line has a frontline number. And it's so cool to see the progress that's made within that. To even the shameful conversation. It goes to even to that level.
Wow.
And it's really great to see these days. But I'll be posting them after. So
thanks for researching all that, man.
Yeah,
awesome. No problem. Happy to do it. Besides that, I've got nothing else. We've hit the hour and 7-minute mark.
We did it.
Yay!
Renee, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you couldn't make it.
We love you anyway.
Yay, Renee!
My gosh, yes. Love the comment. Look at these beautiful, compassionate caregivers.
Renee.
I think I might do a part 2 next week and get her on, and any of you that want to come back on, or anybody else in the medical field, firefighter, police, whatever it may be, to get on, talk a little bit too, because I feel bad for Renee, and it's only right.
But I'm really glad that Ruby Soho's okay.
Yes.
Right.
Puppy dog. Well, thanks again for having me. This was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I do want to say, Tina, we love you.
Very much.
Love, hugs.
All the hugs.
Anything you need, we're here. You're going to keep hearing it, and it'll forever be true.
You know where to find us.
And apparently Chewy's in as well. Offering solidarity.
What's gonna work? Teamwork.
Woo!
Why do I feel like there's going to be like a weird copyright infringement notification because of that one song, Kramer? You ruined it.
Nah.
Kramer, this is why we can't have nice things.
I am why we can't have nice things.
Blast.
Well, until next week, thank you all. If either 4 of you have anything you want to throw my way, I'll throw it in the notes and post it later today and tomorrow. Resources, guidances, whatever needed. So thank you all so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Miss you guys. Love you.
Take care.
Bye.